The year is 2006. Nintendo has just released the Wii, making it an overnight success. The Wii was different from any other console in the past. The focus on a more casual audience with the introduction of Nintendo's genius Wii Remote design made motion control gaming an instant hit with families across the world. This was a problem for Microsoft. The Xbox 360 was Microsoft's second console, and it was on track to be the best-selling console of the generation. Several factors such as the pricey launch of the PS3 and some phenomenal first-party support with the release of Halo 3 in 2007 put the 360 on top. But somehow Nintendo was taking the lead. But lucky for Microsoft, they still had a few tricks up their sleeves. Let's rewind to 2005. Microsoft was getting interested in a new form of technology, 3D depth sensing cameras, and they had plans to implement this new advancement into one of their Xbox consoles somewhere along the line. But sadly, in 2005, the technology still had quite a ways to go before it would be feasible for a consumer product, so the idea was eventually shelved. Fast forward to the release of the Wii. With the Wii's success, Microsoft was now being pressured to work on a motion-based peripheral for the 360 to be able to compete. However, it would still take some time to get the new technology to an acceptable working level. While simple hand gestures and body shapes could be detected, full-on skeletal tracking was still a dream of the future. Some ideas were even thrown around to make a more Wii-style motion tracking system with a sensor bar and controllers. This approach was similarly adopted by Sony for their PlayStation Move controllers. But no, Microsoft didn't want to use any extra controllers. No. Their dream was for the player themselves to become the controller. So the idea was eventually scrapped, and the devs hit a wall. Well, that was until 2008, when the devs realized that the problem didn't have to be hardware-based, but software-based. Using machine learning, they were finally able to get their prototype working. Microsoft liked what they saw, and they greenlit the project, with official production starting later in 2009. During production, a fatal flaw was detected in the camera's design. The prototype would need to calibrate the entire room with either a manual adjustment or the implementation of an expensive motor into the design. Microsoft feared that having the user move the camera up and down would ruin the immersion, so they opted for the motor. So then, after nearly 2 years of dedicated development, the Kinect as we know it was complete. During this development cycle, Microsoft had its in-house studios such as RaZeR working on games for the peripheral. Their official launch title would be Kinect Adventures, a minigame collection similar to Wii Sports, which was meant to show off the power of the Kinect and would be included with every Kinect unit. In 2009, Microsoft would officially reveal the Kinect with a handful of demos, including Project Milo, a game where the player would interact with an AI designed to look like a 10-year-old boy. The goal was to create an immersive personal experience with Milo learning and interacting differently with each person. But the project proved too ambitious for its own good and was eventually cancelled. On November 4th, 2010, the Kinect released to seeming success. It sold 8 million units in its first 2 months, giving it a Guinness World Record for the fastest-selling consumer electronics device. The Kinect's release coincided with a new 360 hardware revision, the Slim model. This model came in many different variations and bundles, some including the Kinect and others without, some with the impressive 250 gig hard drive and others with just 4 gigs. All Kinects came with Kinect Adventures, but bundles included Kinect Sports, Disneyland Adventures, Carnival Games, Dance Central 2, and Forza for some reason. There were also some coveted special white editions of the Kinect, which just look incredible, one of which came with the Star Wars Special Edition. The standalone Kinect came with either just Kinect Adventures or with Adventures, Fruit Ninja, and the Gunstringer. Microsoft wanted everything to be perfect for this launch, and they did everything right. They threw $500 million into marketing with their You Are the Controller campaign, and the amount of bundles is indicative of this marketing decision. They wanted people to buy the Kinect, and they wanted it badly. And there was a great amount of support for the Kinect with 17 games at launch. Things were looking good, until you realized what those launch titles were. The list of launch titles included Kinect Adventures, Kinect Sports, Kinect Joyride, Kinect de Moles, Game Party in Motion, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, Your Shape, Fitness Evolved, Dance Central, EA Sports Active 2, The Biggest Loser Ultimate Workout, Dance Evolution, Zumba Fitness, Motion Sports, Deca Sports Freedom, Adrenaline Misfits, Fighters Uncaged, and Sonic Freeriders. But can you spot the theme here? 4 fitness-focused games, 2 dancing games, and the general family-friendly theme. The focus was just on the same casual market that the Wii was already dominating. And although the system sold 10 million units by 2011, that was only a fifth of all Xbox consoles. This made third-party support very hesitant. Let's say you're Activision and you're making a new COD. It's 2011 and the series is in its prime. Why would you develop a COD game for the Kinect? Your Xbox sales are already higher than the amount of Kinects on the market. Making one for the Wii would make sense because there's a higher user base than the 360. But developing for the Kinect would just be a waste of effort, with very minimal returns. And this led to one of the Kinect's biggest downfalls. Although the launch for the peripheral had a good quantity of games, the support after launch was minimal. Sure, we got Kinect Star Wars and a new Just Dance every year, but that was pretty much it. The Kinect only managed to build a library of roughly 100 games, most of which were dancing games, fitness games, and minigame collections. The lack of support paired with the $150 price tag made large developers and customers alike steer clear of the Kinect. Microsoft was getting desperate, so they hatched a brilliant little scheme to make people think their $150 were worthwhile, while also getting big developers to support the accessory. Kind of. Introducing the Better with Kinect branding. These were enhanced, if you can even call them enhanced, ports of games with Kinect functionality of some sort. However, this was often just voice commands, which only worked with the Kinect. Like, you couldn't use a headset, you needed the Kinect. You could do shouts in Skyrim, you could say, set hut in Madden 13 to snap the ball, and you could shout random things at Mass Effect 3.
Concussion shot.
Examine.
Activate. James Carnage.
The better part of the game was never anything more than just a gimmick you might use once or twice and forget about. As you saw with the Mass Effect trailer, literally everything you could use a command for was just a button press. Like, I can't imagine anyone actually used this feature for more than a few times. Like, I think somebody's roommate probably came in and was just like, fire gun, shoot weapon, like, just to annoy someone. Like, I could only see this being somebody pranking you. That's the only reason it would happen. The more impressive version of this functionality would be found primarily in Microsoft's first-party offerings, with modes in Forza where you could drive like you're playing Mario Kart on the Wii. This was neat, but this wasn't really a big enough deal for a normal player to buy a Kinect. No one's like, I need to get a Kinect to play this game mode. And no Kinect owner is looking at that going, man, I need to buy that game to use my Kinect. Like, it didn't do anything. Again, if you were Activision and Microsoft said, hey, we want Black Ops 2 to be better with Kinect, you make a new mode where you have to fight zombies with the Kinect, Activision would just say no. Like, they already knew people were going to buy their game because of the already loyal customer base on the 360. So why would they put in extra effort for something that would do very little to sales? The list of troubles for the Kinect does not end there, though. The Kinect was never perfect. It functioned, it did its job, but that's about all I can say to that end. There are several ways that the Kinect can be used around the 360 as a whole. You can use motion controls to navigate the main menu. Kind of. You can use voice commands to perform simple actions by saying Xbox before whatever you want to happen.
Xbox!
The Kinect could also be used as mic, which, due to its general position next to the TV, produced crazy amounts of echo for those on the other end. But sadly, most of the Kinect's features were nothing more than gimmicks. It worked for what it was meant to do, but other than that, it really wasn't the next level gaming experience that Microsoft wanted it to be. Microsoft's vision for the Kinect was for it to be like the Wii killer, a piece of hardware that took away the need for controllers. But all it did was make you want to use your controller more. When used in game, the Kinect did what it was supposed to do, but there just wasn't enough creativity in the games available. Microsoft's Kinect line was fine, but a lot of it was just Microsoft being a Wii clone. There were a few cool ideas like the gun stringer, but when one of your better games is a port of a free mobile game, you're missing something. The Kinect would go on to be supported throughout the rest of the 360's lifespan and would be included with the original model for the Xbox One. Every Xbox One came with the Kinect at launch, leading to a steep console price of $499. This and several other disappointing aspects of the console's launch led to controversy and low sales. Although the Kinect V2, as it was called, for the Xbox One was an improvement over the 360's model with better tracking and a smaller room requirement, high production costs made it a death sentence for the Xbox One's launch. Microsoft knew what they had to do. They had to drop the Kinect. This was the end. The Kinect received little Xbox One support despite an improved model, but there just wasn't enough there to justify the peripheral. The menu navigation worked, but it was much more of a hassle than just hitting RB a couple of times and then tapping A. The tracking was not always as accurate as the games required, and it ironically never proved to have the accessibility of the Wii. The Kinect was unsettling. The automatic movements along with the glowing cameras gave users the feeling that they were being watched. Because they were. I mean, that was the whole point. But the silent, watchful eye, even when in another game not using the Kinect, led to a very unnerving depiction of the Kinect in general. It was just too ahead of its time, but it wasn't a waste of time. The Kinect is arguably the definitive way to play dancing games, as the full body tracking is much better than the tracking of a single Wiimote. Even today, old Kinects are being retrofitted to implement full body tracking for VR owners. Sure, it might not be the best option, but when you can get one on eBay for 20 bucks, I mean, it makes sense. And if you have a big enough playing space, it does the job. The Kinect was an idea that was 10 years too early. Probably 20 years too early, if we're being completely honest. With the rise of VR, motion sensing 3D cameras are now able to fully track movement in VR. Some even without external base stations and sensors. It's not perfect yet, but it's pretty darn close to being there. And I want to believe that the development of the Kinect helped to promote this technology. But if Microsoft would have held off on the idea until the VR boom of 2016, they could have had their own competitor to PSVR, which is undoubtedly a major selling point for the PlayStation. However, Microsoft has stated that they don't have any current plans for a console VR peripheral. And I'm sure the Xbox One's launch hasn't helped change their minds. This is despite having Microsoft's mixed reality portal. So where does this leave the Kinect? The Kinect was undoubtedly an ambitious idea. The ability to control a game with no controllers was a revolutionary concept, and honestly it still is. However, the lack of game support and the low level of truly innovative functionality led to a very gimmicky feeling. A feeling that surrounded all of its applications. It is still a must-have for the 10 diehard Just Dance players out there, and funnily enough, the new games use an app for your phone which mimic the Kinect's functionality, but those who have tried the app prefer the Kinect. The Kinect seemed almost like a half step between the Wii and VR, where the ideas for an immersive experience were there but just weren't capitalized on. Had indie devs been given the torch, we could have had something like Beat Saber before its time. There were just too many factors holding people back from really letting loose and developing for it. But honestly, I like the Kinect. It has a special place in my memory. It was a strange idea at a strange time, but it was better with Kinect. Thank you guys so much for watching. This idea was inspired by BG360, a member of my Discord server. So if you like this video and would like to join my community, feel free to hit that Discord link in the description below. But with that being said, I hope to see you in the next one.